I just wanted to thank you very much, Gail, and thank you very much, Langley Teachers, for organizing this event. I think it's really important to have these conversations, and events such as these are one critical way that we do that. I just wanted to set the context a little bit for bargaining and where we are in bargaining right now. Many of you may know that we've been bargaining for about 18 months, about a year and a half now. It's been a long haul. We're close on a couple of things in terms of the collective agreement. There's been a lot of movement. Things have come off the table. At this point in time, we're very close on salary, very close on term. We also know that class size and composition needs to be addressed in this round of bargaining. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Teachers have made significant moves in this area. We really want to get a collectively bargained deal. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the Learning Improvement Fund. The Learning Improvement Fund is one area where the negotiators for the employer are very committed to maintaining that system for allocating dollars to classrooms. And I just wanted to share a few facts with you, and what I'm quoting from is BCTF research that we have garnered from ministry documents. All the documents that we have used are available on ministry websites. The research that I'm quoting from is also available on the BCTF website. So this is, just wanted to share a few things. So, I mean, my position, and I think our position, is that the Learning Improvement Fund hasn't worked to improve learning conditions in classrooms. It was introduced in 2012, and at that time, and in fact you may have heard recently, the claim that it allowed 500 new teachers to be hired. And in fact, the ministry's documents show that this last year there were actually fewer special ed teachers, fewer teacher librarians, and fewer classroom counselors, and fewer classroom teachers, not more. In fact, there were more than 341 fewer classroom teachers last year than there was the year before. So rather than 500 additional teachers hired, there are actually many fewer. This is not explained by declining enrollment. Over the last year, enrollment declined by 1.4% for teachers, but only 0.05% for students. There's a big gap there between the reduction in the teaching staff and the reduction in students. So what seems to be happening is that overall districts who are very short on cash, we know there's a huge underfunding problem, are laying off teachers, and then some are being put back by the LIF, but not all of them. So the idea of the LIF was that it was supposed to be money above and beyond what the regular staffing is. It wasn't supposed to be used in replacement of reduced money for staffing. So it really hasn't worked to hire more teachers, improve classroom conditions for students. It has done actually the opposite. So we have proposed a different process in collective bargaining that would mean that teachers and the employer both have a say in where the money goes. And we're looking at that as an interim measure because, as you may well be aware as well, the government is taking us to court in terms of an appeal process around our court wins around class size and composition and those issues. So while we're awaiting the court appeal, we've suggested an interim process. We've also been asked, why don't you just wait till the appeal's over before you, and don't bother bargaining class size and composition in this round of the collective agreement. And part of the reason for that is, we know that issues are difficult in classrooms right now, and we can't wait. We can't wait till after the appeal's over. But the other reality is the appeal's in October, so we go to court in October, but that's one step. That's one step. There's also the Supreme Court of Canada, so if there's a loss there, by the government, it undoubtedly will go to the Supreme Court of Canada. So So we're looking 3-4 years down the road before we could see any actual improvements in our contract. So we think it's important that something happen right away. And obviously teachers are very committed to that. We are very committed, obviously, to having a bargain collective agreement or a mediated collective agreement. And part of the issues that we're facing right now is there's a desire on the part of the employer to have us make reductions before mediation is agreed to. And that's not the idea of mediation. What's happened is that there have been a number of significant moves that teachers have made over the last 18 months. And at this point, the rest of the work needs to happen at the table. So while there are costing documents being put out by the ministry and BCPC, what needs to happen is it needs to happen at the table. And that's what we need to have happen. So it's unfortunate that it got to the point where teachers actually had to go on strike. We had organized a staged job action because we didn't want it to get to the point where we're on strike on a full withdrawal of services. And we, were quite patient through the process, but there comes a point in time where a union has certain tools within the toolkit to use, and this was one of them. And we had hoped that we were putting pressure on at an earlier level to result in movement at the table, but it was very clear to us that movement at the table was not happening, and so we ended up on strike, unfortunately. That's not where teachers want to be, obviously. Teachers want to be preparing for the next school year, want to be in their classrooms organizing, want to be doing all that stuff, and it's unfortunate that we're not. We also faced a very aggressive government in this round, and much more aggressive than we have in the past in terms of the lockout that was imposed. We haven't seen anything like that before, and it certainly didn't help us move towards mediation or a result at the table. Even though, obviously they were hoping that that pressure would result in some movement, I suppose. And you're noticing that in many areas, teachers are still on picket lines in front of some of the schools, in front of some of the board offices. Other things are happening in locals, though. It's not just picketing. Other locals are doing events such as these tonight and rallies all over the province. There are leafleting happening at events. Teachers are very committed to getting our story out about what's happening in public education, and are so committed to it, in fact, that we're doing it in July and August. And so it's important that we continue to do that, and it really does speak to our commitment to getting a fairly negotiated deal. You probably heard Christy Clark's comments in the media, just yesterday was it, that they've been phoning us every week to try and get us back to the table. And that just is not the case. The phone has not been ringing. Although, in an interesting twist, Peter Cameron did phone Jim Iker today.
After Christmas.
After the comments, he then phoned, and Jim joked with him and said, "Is this your weekly phone call?" Because I think you missed a couple weeks. So what has also been happening in locals is teachers have been meeting with their trustees, have been meeting with their local MLAs, and have been sort of telling them about our need to get into mediation to get a deal before the start of the school year. We're certainly hoping that is putting on some pressure and will result in some action before the start of the school year. That's our deepest desire, is that we get a deal before the start of the school. What we need is unfettered mediation. Unfettered mediation. So not mediation where there's a whole bunch of conditions before the employer agrees to go into it. That's not what mediation is all about. You go to the table and you bargain there and you try and reach a compromise deal there, but it needs to be compromise on both sides. And we feel that we've made a lot of compromises, and we're waiting for some from the other side. Justice Stephen Kelleher has agreed to be the mediator. He did meet with both sides in July, and you probably heard that his statement afterwards was that mediation was not indicated at this time. That didn't mean he walked away from the mediation table. He did not. He gave us at that time dates in August as well. And so August 4th and August 18th, he is available those weeks. And we certainly hope and expect that the government is going to come to the table during those weeks and work, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to try and get a deal done. And in fact, if both parties really want a deal, it's not going to take that long. There are few issues to deal with at this point. And so we can sit down and get a deal very, very quickly. But there needs to be will on both sides. And that's, at the moment, what we're missing, is that will to get a deal. So that's sort of where we're at. And again, we're certainly hoping that that government agrees and to mediation in August. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Teri.